Hey, hello everyone. It's Leanne with Crafty Kitty Vintage. I am here finally with my very first video showing you what I've been doing with this little golden book. So this is my first video for my new intention of making crafting videos. And I thought I'd start first with my journey with the little golden books. Now, I've been collecting them for a while. And well, with some of them, I thought, why not try this thing called junk journaling that people have been doing for a few years now, otherwise known as scrapbooking, altered book, repurposing, sort of a meld of those things, using the ephemera that you have, using just little odds and ends, crafty things. Now, I've been a crafter for a long time. I used to do some scrapbooking when my kids were little, and I've been working on various crafts over the years. Decoupage, paper crafts seem to be my favorite, but I also have quite a lot of jewelry making supplies, things like that, fabric pieces. So this craft sort of incorporates all of those things, which is great because I have a lot of these materials. So this first book I decided to work on is a Disney Little Golden Book, as you can see, 101 Dalmatians. Now I decided to make a journal for each of my daughters. So looking through my collection and found this book, and it reminded me of my daughter Maddie because she used to collect 101 Dalmatian items. So as you can see, I've already begun this process. Now I will show you my version of how to cut apart the book, disassemble it, and make a spine. There are a ton of junk journaling little golden book videos out there, and they are all fabulous. There is a wealth of information and some wonderful creative people doing amazing creative things with their books. Everyone seems to have their own style, and that is, of course, how it is with crafting. Um, and especially with when it comes to making the spine or reconstructing little golden books, everyone has their own way. I had not seen this particular way. I sort of melded a bunch of different examples into my version. There could be somebody who does the same thing out there, but so what I did was I made a 1.5 inch chipboard spine. I covered it with paper. I've seen people cover it with fabric, and I might do that with my second one. But for this one, I did some cardstock that I thought was nice and coordinating with some of the colors here, going with like sort of a light blue and red sort of a theme, also with the spots, of course, and black and white. So I just wanted to show you that. I also kept the Golden Book foil visible and prominent here. That was important to me. I just thought, that's something I really like about little golden books. It's very recognizable and unique about it. And so I wanted to keep that right here and right here. And if you've watched any of the videos out there, there's lots of different ways people cut it here and get rid of this part. Some people keep the spine together and eliminate this need to do that altogether. The reason not only because I wanted to keep this, another reason why I wanted to do it this way was because of the pages and not wanting to have to cut down the pages. Now, I'm approximately halfway done, I would say, with this journal. And again, just sort of teaching myself, watching videos, doing what I think looks good. Anyway, back to my point about the pages. I wanted to keep the pages intact and not have to cut them apart or have to cut them along the edge. There's a bunch of different ways people do that. So I decided to do it this way. I might change my method as I go on to my next ones, but this is how I did it. So, as you can see, this particular book is a little rough. I would say it's in fair condition, as opposed to good, because it does have these areas that I sort of had to reinforce. Here I put extra cardstock here to kind of reinforce the pages, or the corners that were kind of bendy. And then inside the book itself, some of the pages were a little bit flimsy or rough, so I put like a fun edge along them. And I don't mind that it has some age and wear. And I especially chose this one because of that, because I didn't want to have to worry about, am I messing up a perfectly nice book? Um, so I made this with the idea of my daughter in mind. Of course, it's for her. Um, and she's going to say, Mom, what is this? What's the point of this? But not only is it fun, it's sort of nostalgic of her childhood, but it's also, I don't know, it just kind of, it's for me, it's something that I wanted to do, even if she doesn't necessarily appreciate it as much as I might want her to. It's still something that I think she will appreciate. I took some notebook paper that we just had sitting around and some office supply storage, and this is some math um, practice homework kind of thing from my partner's kids. And so we just had this. I decided to use it because my daughter's a math PhD student. So I thought that would be apropos. So I kind of tried to come up with things that had to do with counting and numbers. I had a one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish book that was missing its cover. So I decided to use the pages in my junk journaling. So I'm just going to show you here what I have so far. Some construction paper I used, saved some scraps and kind of extend this page that really only went out to here, but I added on some pages I'm going to do that. In some pages like this, I'll probably keep it a half sheet. As you can see, it's a grid paper. There's another of the book pages. Here I just reinforced this because it was getting a little light, and it's just easier to turn the page with this little, I don't know if you can see this little piece of reinforcement that I took off of some other pages. Again, this is like parchment paper for like resumes and things. I used a bit of washi tape. Now I actually, for the first time, used some supplies that I got in a junk journaling kit that I bought from a YouTube reseller friend, Wendy from Wendy's Wacky Warehouse. Thank you, Wendy, for all of the great goodies. So this is from that. It's a old ledger page. This is from an old slide rule, like a little warranty guarantee kind of thing. Thought that was interesting. It's not anything, that's absolutely necessary, but it's something that I thought might pique Maddie's interest. And that's kind of what this is about, is making a journal. Not only is it fun to look at the pages, you can write on these blank pages. You can journal. That's sort of what people do with them. This I just threw in there because I wanted to add it here for a little color. I might do what I did here on this page, which is add this piece of cardstock here, just making it, adding a little bit of color, but also extending that page a little bit. Again, not requiring myself to do that to all the pages. Like this one, I'm probably going to keep as is. But again, just adding a little color, adding a little more interest. I may or may not keep this in here, just a little note paper. Again, you can journal on it. You can take it out and use it for a shopping list, whatever. You can, I intend to also put some like note cards, greeting cards, things like that, that she can use, little thank you cards. So it becomes sort of a little storage area too, that you can keep on your shelf. You're like, oh, I need a card, and you go and pull something out of your junk journal. So not everything that you put in your junk journal has to necessarily stay in your junk journal. It can be something that's a perpetual adding to and taking from kind of thing. This is a little Valentine notebook that I got actually at the Goodwill bins. You know, something that's going to be thrown away anyway, doesn't cost much, maybe a penny once you get your items weighed. And I covered the front and back with this coffee dyed cardstock that I made. Again, I am very new at this, just a novice. And then I used, a lot of people who do junk journaling make their edges distressed or decorated with ink pads. So I have here a couple really inexpensive ink pads that I just got. One is antique copper and one is antique bronze or something like that. So I haven't tried this one yet, but I have used this because of the metallic look, and it sort of I think goes with sort of the gold of the little golden books. I like the idea of adding little bits of shimmer here and there. So some people use a dauber and apply it from there. So far, I've just done this. I've just done it this way, and because then I don't have to worry about having a dauber, and I can just do this. So I'm going to reinforce that a little bit more where I want a little bit more color on the pages. So again, you know, with this kind of stuff, you can do as much or as little as you want. And with me and my crafting, I kind of build as I go. Because you can see here, I've made some pocket pages out of scrapbook paper. And I got this fun paper pad. It is single-sided paper, but it's this paper pad from Michael's. And it's textures. So it has a lot of different textures. And as I'm going through, I'm seeing little spots that need a little glue. So the glue I have here, I put in a little, needle nose bottle, which makes applying the glue so much easier. Oops, there we go. So much easier to get into these little spaces. Plus, in most cases, you just need a teeny tiny bit of glue. So this helps you kind of conserve, which I really love. And then it also takes up less space on your table. So, but I will show you where that came from. Oh, it's a little bit buried. Excuse me for the noise. Of course, I have a couple maracas sitting right on top of it. So this is what it is. So I didn't have this prior to making, to starting this project. It is Fabri-Tac, made by Beacon. It is a silicone-based glue. It dries really fast, grabs really fast. Great for fabrics, lace, glass, leather, wood, trims. Really great even for paper on paper. So that's what I am using in this little bottle. And that's just what other folks I've seen with these videos have been using. Now I do notice here, you know, I wondered, does it dry clear? It sure does, but it does leave a little bit of residue. May or may not be something that you care about, but good to know for the future. Again, some washi tape, reinforcing the somewhat thin grid paper. This has little dogs on it. Pongo and Perdita, they're wondering where their puppies are. So again, another pocket, very shallow pocket. Put a little antique postcard in a plastic sleeve in there. This happens to be Madison Park in Seattle from, I'm going to guess, 1910s, maybe 1910 itself, but really neat little boardwalk picture. This is a page from a journal that my mom made, and so I just put this page in here because it references Maddie's birth, and just a little blurb about what Grandma was thinking when she was hanging out with us after Maddie was born. Again, another page with cardstock as for color here. Another page from the book. This had a little ripping, so I decided to put some reinforcements there just so it wouldn't rip further. I don't care how it looks necessarily. It's more about just the just keeping the journal good for a little while. This is just notebook paper. Her dad, who's passed away, as well as her grandma, um, used to use these yellow pads for work and everything else in his life. So I thought this was kind of reminiscent and a reminder of him. So I used that. And that reminds me of something I was going to add here, which is this is a paper clip, like an old, kind of 80s fun paper clip. And this is an old address label that of a former residence of her dad's. So I thought I'd add that. I'll probably end up gluing that at some point somewhere. But paper clips are fun, so I'm kind of almost to that stage where I'm adding some paper clips. Here's another pocket. This is what I intend to do with most of the pockets, kind of decorate the top a little bit. Not sure I'm going to keep this recipe card in here. I just kind of put it in because of the yellows. And here is a sticker card. Came in a box of 101 Dalmatian trading cards that she used to have as a kid. These, again, journaling cards. I just did rounded the corners of these file cards. And then this, I just printed some Dalmatian spot paper. And I really like how that looks with the grosgrain ribbon here. Again, adding a little more color accent. This is the more of that math algebra homework. And so that finishes the first signature, is what they call it. And so what I am going to do is I'm going to be sewing both of these into the spine when I'm all done. So here's the second signature. Again, I have some more embellishing to do. I might do some stamping. Might change this out for a different card. It's just sort of my beginning evolution with this. I did washi tape on this piece just to kind of, again, add decoration. I love that gold accent there. Another, this needs some embellishment here. I did make these cards that, again, you can journal on the back, but things that are related to her or the book. I did a decorative edge here with some scissors on this cardstock that I coffee dyed. Again, algebra paper. Here I have the another kind of ledger paper from that junk journaling kit. I'm probably going to trim that. And some more of that Dalmatian cardstock. I did like a little tab kind of thing here. I did do a few fabric tabs here. I don't know if I showed you in the first signature, but I'll show you here. More washi tape. This is just for fun and color. You can, something that she can just mess around with. Again, another postcard. This one's of San Francisco Bay, place her dad lived. It's an antique postcard that I think is pretty neat. I think she'd like it too. More washi tape. Pretty plain pages, but I think that's okay for now. Here's another tab. I did a fabric tab. Used the same fabric that I had on the inside of the spine. I might actually use some of this lace to edge some papers. I haven't decided. This is just a simple pocket. Again, another one of those little Valentine books. Another yellow piece of paper which you can journal on. This is what they call a fold out. Another construction paper, notebook paper. Here is a sticker sheet from back in the day. Probably bought it when she was a kid. added this little thing, just some color. This here, and this is a defensive driving course little pamphlet from I think 1990 that I thought she might find interesting. So I added that, and it's right next to where Cruella drives off the cliff. And some more reinforcement of this page, tucked in some other things that I haven't finished working on yet. Finished with. So I have that signature. So that is the second signature. Again, these are going to go, these are going to both be sewn in like that. Whole thing is going to look something like this when it's all done. Some people really like to have roughly pages sticking out. And as you can see, lots of my papers stick out of the edge here. I have done a couple decorative edges already. I'm not sure if I mind this or not, having the pages stick out. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see once I get closer to being done. As you can see, it can get quite thick, and that's why I gave myself at least 1.5 inches. Some people do a lot bigger spines, and some people do smaller ones. I thought this one would work. Now, one thing I wish that I had done differently. Now, I did reinforce the inside of this with some tape, but I wish I had done, and then the paper and whatnot. I wish that I had done some more chipboard here. So probably in my next one, I'll be doing that. And then I did put this washi tape here, which really, and I wasn't super familiar with washi tape when I started this. Didn't realize that it doesn't really stick that well. It's like not even really permanent. It's removable. So I did glue down some of the edges, but it doesn't look quite as neat as I would like it to. So yeah, there you go. This particular copy is from 1988, just to give you more reference there. So I thought I'd work on this a little bit and show you kind of what I'm doing. I think I'll work on the second signature because I think it needs a little more help than the first. All right. Oh, yes. I'm going to work on the cover first before I do that. I wanted to show you. And some people work on the cover first. Some people work on the pages first. I'm kind of doing a little of both. It's a bit how I am. I don't know if you call it ADHD or what. So I got these metal decorative corners, reinforcers, whatever you want to call it. So I wanted to try to put those on. Now they're a little bit thicker, well, probably twice as thick as the page itself. I've never done this before, but I thought, it's an experiment. Let's start with the back. Here you can see there was quite a bit of missing cardboard here. So I kind of built up some cardboard there. So we'll see. I'm not sure how this is going to work since it's thinner than the book corners. I thought we could give it a shot. I just have pliers. What I was thinking I might have to do is put another piece of like chipboard or something there. Help it grab and make it a little bit thicker. Just going to push down those flaps to get them a little bit closer. And then what I was planning to do is put a little glue here. Oops, you can't see. Put some glue underneath so that it'll stay. And then, yeah, I think that'll work out just fine. So let me put a piece of, or a little bit of glue. A lot of what I'm doing here is trial and error for me. Never done corners like this. Okay, good amount of glue in there. Obviously the decorative side needs to go out. And let me flip it over. Gotta let it well. Just bending the pieces in a little bit. I want to protect the outside of the corners from the pliers. Okay, so it's flattening out. That's okay. Might be good. Might be a good plan for this. Let's see. Oh, no. So kind of flatten that bit out so it's sticking out a little farther than I would like. Do anything about that at this point. I think what I would need to do is remove some of the material here because it's preventing it from folding in. But I think it's okay. I think I can live with that. I mean, it's glued down now, so it would be nice if I could find these in a thinner version for this project. But I ordered these online and it took quite a while for them to come. And there weren't any different sizes, so I have to find some if I want to do this on my next project. I might have to find some locally that I can try on for size. Okay. Well, let's try this one. I'm going to put a bunch of glue in. Again, there's no right or wrong, way to do this. It's just what makes you happy. What works for the look that you're going for. So I'm trying here is to not necessarily flatten the sides, but rather pinch the inside down towards the book cover. And it leaves a little bit of a sharp edge there that I'm not sure I enjoy. But it does look good from the outside, I think. Adds a little touch there. Not sure what I'm going to do here. I might end up putting like a sticker or a stamp or some kind of little extra guy. So, okay, well, I did the backs. Let's do the fronts. I'm going to start bending this down a little bit. Too far on that one. Gotta keep room for the book. So let me know if you're watching this. Let me know, what kinds of things you'd like to see me help or go over, maybe to help you if you need ideas for your projects or if you have ideas for me. I love to share ideas about crafting. Love to hear what you have to say, either about my videos or about crafts or both. A lot of you who follow my channel already know that I do some live sales, both on my channel and on other channels. I still have a schedule where I do Wednesdays with Sabrina. Simon Says Let's Make a Deal. And Sundays with both Sabrina and Kathy Picasso Cat. And we rotate our channels. We rotate the hosting duties on our channels. So some weeks it's on Kathy's, some weeks it's on mine, some weeks it's on Sabrina's channel. I think that one's the best. That one turned out the best. Do this fourth one. Sorry, my voice is kind of going today. I've been dealing with some allergies. Springtime. Right, putting some glue in here. Again, this is a fabric tack. It works great for paper and metal and all the things. I don't know what I did without this glue in my life before. And tell me what kind of crafts you work on and what you'd like to see me work on. And do you collect little golden books? What do you collect? When I started my channel, one of the things I definitely wanted to do on it was crafting. Glad to be getting to it. All right, I like that. Gives it some, a little bit more integrity. I'm glad I started with the back, because then I refined my method. So it turns out those did work okay, even though they are a little thick. And, it's all handmade, so it doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm trying to figure out what to do here. I was thinking I would leave it. A lot of junk journal makers leave things like that, names that were written there. Trying to decide if my daughter would mind if that's there or if it makes sense to cover that and put her name there. I have not decided yet what I want to do. So I'm tacking down this washi tape with a little bit of fabric tack because it does not want to stay. And I added that just to kind of cover the edge of the paper, give it a little more of a decorative edge. And not sure if I'm done with the front or not. I do want to show you some more of the corners that I got, which I might do in my next journal, or might use. They're these little guys. Now these, they don't wrap around like these, which is just fine, especially on a book that maybe doesn't have that much wear. I'll go ahead and show you the next book that I'm going to be working on, this Haunted Mansion book. And I think it will go nicely there. Now I do wish I had gotten gold instead of this color, so I might order the gold ones. Because I think they'd stand out a little bit better. So those will go right to the edge and give a nice little decorative corner there. And I might not need to put them on the back. I might just put them on the front. We'll see. So yeah, I got this Haunted Mansion one. This is going to be my other daughter's. It suits her quite nicely. This is a brand new one. 2021 is the copyright date. As you see, you can find vintage. You can find even older ones than this, which I actually just purchased some that are very old, 40s and 50s. So I'm really excited about that. Sometimes I offer them in my live sales especially when I have extras or duplicates in my collection. So that's that. I'm going to set this aside and go back to my pages. So where do I want to begin? Some days my ideas just flow and other days they don't. And if I wait around for my ideas to flow, I might never, and then also hit the recording button, I might never get these things done. So there's Cruella. I was looking for a spot where she was. See if there's other spots. She appears. Other side of that page here. I already have something here. This was sort of an afterthought. And again, using what you have, this is something that I had, those letters. See in the first signature, there might be a better spot for this. Of course, there's a good spot. Now, because these aren't sewn in, I can move pages if I want. Maybe here. It'd be nice to have a pocket here that this can just fit into, like this. That page does not have a pocket. make one, but I want to check and see what I have. Okay, maybe we'll use, I gotta find my deals. Spotty paper. I think I'll make a pocket here that this can go in. Well, this is pretty thin paper, so I think I'm going to use a piece of cardstock. You can use all kinds of things. You can use old postcards like this. You can cover that. And just use that. Find my, just so that this doesn't show through. This is an old thank you card. Use some of this correct stuff that we used to use on typewriters. Now, if I had liquid paper, this would go a lot faster, although there's drying time. But again, just using what I have, not buying anything new. Correcting tape, that's what it's called. Because this paper is kind of thin, I didn't want the writing to show through. Then this. I'm going to set this aside. And cut. One thing I did treat myself to is this new paper cutter. I had been just using a straight edge, like my metal ruler, which is great, cork backed, and an X-Acto knife to cut. Now, that works really great, except if you don't hold the ruler extremely still, then you can end up with a little bit of a less than clean edge. So here, rather than measuring, because I find measuring extremely tedious, I'm going to do this because the print isn't up there, but I'm going to add a little piece of trim. So I'll cut. So rather than measuring, I'm just going to hold this up to it. So I'll just I'll fold that over edge. So it doesn't matter if it's exactly right. I'm just going to kind of wrap the paper, the decorative paper, around the card along the top. So the paper cutter is nice for that. And I also realized after I got it, I didn't realize it when I ordered it, it also has a scoring piece. So if you need to score something, let's say I want to score this. Let's say I want to score it along that edge. You just use this, go like that, and it gives you a little score line so you can fold. Now this paper is very thin, so it kind of tore it a little bit, but it's good for cardstock. Okay, set this aside. So what I've found myself doing when it comes to adhesives, now a lot of the videos I watched use this kind of double stick tape. And so I bought a bunch of it. Again, didn't want to buy a lot of new things, but I thought this would be a good thing to have because it makes things go a little quicker. Gives you extra bonding, which is nice if you want your journals to last. Oh yeah, this is going to be a pocket, so I got to remember. Oh, wait, I'm adhering this. I'm adhering the paper. So I can do all the edges with this. Another thing you can use that I found, I've been experimenting with, all the ideas, is some of those little glue dots that come in a little roll like this. Great for scrapbooking, other paper crafts. So you just run it just like the correcting tape, like that. And then I was surprised to see, but it makes a lot of sense now that I've tried it a couple times, people using also, in addition to double stick tape or the glue dots, a little dab of the Fabri-Tac glue as well. I'm going to burnish the double stick because that does help it stay down when you remove this part. I'm always trying to reduce waste. I mean, part of junk journaling is reusing things that you already have or using ephemera that would normally be thrown out. So I don't love that, it's this waste is created. I don't love that this plastic is created. To pick my battles, I guess, because then, you have to throw that out. Now you want to go, this helps you get right to the edge too. Just a little amount of glue. It's not even that big a deal. There and there. I'm gonna use my bone folder. It makes a great little smoother. There, and then I'm going to use this. Closer to the edge. So when I ordered that double stick tape from Amazon, I got I got a variety pack, lots of different widths, which is nice to have on hand. And find the edge. For this, I don't think I'm going to need tape. I mean, glue as well as tape. Burnished it. It's still hard to find the edge sometimes. There we go. I have my little trash bag there, of course. Now, one thing I need to get in the habit of doing is this kind of folding. I'm so tempted to just go like that. But this helps keep a nice edge if you do it like this. And then that'll be the top of my pocket. And it'll be nicely reinforced. And then I'll glue all these other sides. And then I can tuck in whatever. And it's a nice thick piece. Go to my page. And I've just been kind of working like within the book. A lot of people will just take off an individual, work on the pages and then put them together. I kind of wanted to see like the order of things here. That's why I keep it in the book. And when I'm working on it, I don't know, just my preference. Did I say I'm not going to use tape? I am. I'm going to make sure it's nicely secured, especially because this is sort of a laminated. And I could just tear it faster than picking up the scissors every time. Except that, let's see, how are we going to do this? Again, really, I've done a lot of paper crafts. I haven't done a lot of this kind of thing. So, and I haven't done it in a while, so still kind of teaching myself with trial and error. I don't know if any of this is interesting to watch or not. Sometimes I watch these kinds of videos on high speed so I can zoom through a little faster. And you can certainly do that as well. Just a couple drops of glue. We live very close to a fire station. Occasionally you'll hear sirens. I think that's good. Now I also have some ribbon and rickrack. Might be a good place for a little red accent. So we'll put rickrack or ribbon. I haven't used this ribbon yet. I think I'll use this ribbon. Love grosgrain ribbon. Just like how it looks. So classy. Mimic the other side. I really like that angled piece, so I'm just going to keep that. Try to match the angle there. Fabric tack made for fabric is what I'm going to use. Tack that down. Made for fabric and among other things, but it's named fabric tack. It does what it says, you know. Now, sometimes with ribbon I will put a little on the edge to help on the ends, I mean, just to help it not fray. But here I don't think we have a problem with that. And this I noticed when I just put this together yesterday. I noticed sometimes these come up. So I was thinking I might have to glue them down, but maybe instead I'll just burnish and then maybe it'll make it stay. Let's see. Oh, yeah, it made it stay better. Now, I think I'll do a little fancying up of this. What I'll do is try this. Now, I did find that I had, because when I ordered these, they came in packs of 3, these, and I don't need 3. So what I thought I would do is have a sale where I sell my extra supplies. So I'm probably gonna do that on my channel very soon. I'll just do a static sale. Sell a few of my leftovers. They're all new things. They're not things that were used. I'm not going to sell like used stamp pads, but that gives a little bit of extra something there. Okay, so I could do some more here. Now, what I've seen other people do, where you just put this in your sewing machine, and I could do that, but I haven't gotten my sewing machine ready yet. So instead, a little bit of that tape. Instead, what they will do is take like a pen, like, there's this gold pen, for example, and they'll make faux stitches along the edge. So I might end up doing that. I'm not sure I want to quite yet on this piece. I got some nice pens out of my mom's old supplies, so I'm gonna use those, and I don't have them right handy, so I think a fine tip pen would be much, much better than this type of thing. So I think I'll wait on the stitches, but I do intend to do that. Let's see. I know that this isn't a Dalmatian, but there are a few other dogs in here, and I thought that would be okay to mix it up. See, there's this dog. They have dog friends that aren't all Dalmatians, I could even add this to, sorry, I'm off camera there. I add this like to the scene here. Just kind of add a little dimension. Add some dogs. I have some stickers. Dalmatian stickers. Cute. Sometimes I just really enjoy just looking at the pages. Woof, woof, woof. This definitely needs a little something, something. This kind of looks like this dog, this little guy. I have these. A little edge I wanted to straighten. Little husky dog. Sorry, again, I'm off camera a little bit. Oh yeah, I could add this to this edge here. See, I did a different color blue here. Do I mind? I don't know. I kind of like this blue better. I don't know what I did with the rest of that blue. I might wait until I find that. Other color rather than adding too many different color blues. Although I did already add that blue to a page on the other signature. No, it wasn't it. It was here. Do that. Don't know. Or do I want to add some lace? I haven't decided about using lace. Now, I want to use lace on most of my books, but for this particular book, for this particular recipient, I'm not really sure. I do want to add some of these little puppy stamps. Let's do that. Sometimes the last thing they do, the people that I watch who do junk journals, sometimes the last thing they do will be adding stamps. I'm going to go ahead and add some here and there. I want to wait for these to dry before I put them back in the book. See how the others did after I stamped them. Good, they didn't transfer to the next page. That's good. I did go ahead and buy some more expensive stamp pads as well. I haven't used them yet, but you know the Tim Holtz brand. These are quite pricey, especially if you don't get them on sale. I did wait for a sale to get these, and they are really, you know, nice felt instead of the sponge type. And I'm planning to make a few little daubers. I saw a little hack because it doesn't do great like what I was doing with the other stuff. It's really not meant to be used like this. It's meant to be used like a normal ink pad. Has some leftover ink on it yet. But yeah, I thought I'd try this and kind of see how it compares to my cheapo version. And I got a few other fun things that I guess I'll show you. I got some corners for photos. So with things like this, you know, I could put it in little photo corners or the postcards, things like that. So, place for another puppy. There. Let's put a couple on the other signature. One thing about junk journaling I've noticed, make sure workspace a little junky, but that's okay. This is where I'd like to put like a piece of washi tape. Maybe I'll do that next. This stamp hadn't been used before. It was in my mom's stuff, and I'm glad to be using it now, finally. in the middle. I think that's good for now. Here's a tip that I got from one of those videos. You keep a dry wet wipe, either a Clorox wipe or baby wipe or something, and just use it to, you can use it to wipe up excess glue. I did there with the stamp. All right, let's see, the washi I was using. Got this little cute set of drawers over here that I'm storing my tape in. Let's do polka dots. Washi tape comes a couple different ways. Sometimes we'll like the double stick tape, it'll have paper on the back, and this one just has, it's just like regular tape, no paper on the back. Try to line it up, edge. Quick way to add a little design element. Also can be functional. Finish the edge a little bit. Probably see this better if I put my glasses on. There we go. Also, did you notice this was a little too close to my body and it was getting stuck? Okay. So, yeah, there you go. This could use a little jazzing up. Oh, I know what I was going to do. This is something that I picked up on one of the videos. They make like a little corner fold out place to journal and things. So they take a little square of paper and fold it diagonally. And then you can attach it like this. And then you have a little blank space to journal on like that. So I can do that here. I kind of like it here. Breaks up that space a little bit. Here. Here. What do you think? Should I put it there? I think I'll put it there. Get these out of my way. Oh, another thing I wanted to do too is add some more text here and there. Words. So probably go to my pages from that one fish, two fish. I cut out some of these words. and add them here and there. You can see I'm a little ADHD sometimes. For this, I'll probably just use glue dots. Oh, the lid's on. And a little this to get the edges. A little off. There we go. Okay, so you get that idea, right? You can open this, you can journal here. Adds a little fun decorative element. And add a puppy. All right, let's look at the words I was talking about. I find something math related or something that would be interesting to Maddie. Well, I might be out of luck when it comes to that. So maybe what I'll do is take some random words. Use my decorative scissors. Another accent color I was using in this book is yellow. I was using blue, red, yellow. So this might work out nicely to have a little bit of yellow here. Another one that I really liked. From there to here, from here to there, funny things are everywhere. Very careful. My daughter Maddie and Bridget are both really funny and witty people. I think they'll appreciate the humor. So another thing somebody I've been watching has done is keep little scraps like this, because you make little decorative bookmarks with them. And so you just take something like this old bookmark, And you use, let's see if I can find a piece of cardstock that's handy. You just use little scraps that you have, and you end up gluing them on in layers. And then you end up with, you can use fabric scraps, all kinds of scraps, but these little colored pieces, sometimes they just tear them and layer them. And then you make a little decorative bookmark that you can put in here as well. So I'm wanting to do that. I haven't made any of those before. Well, I wanted to see, because I haven't made those daubers yet, I wanted to see if if a paintbrush would work for the daubers. So I'm going to try that. Yes, look at that. Just fine. Side to show, not the lined edges. Oops. A little overzealous there. Again, it all works because there's no mistakes here. Really, the torn edges look, I think, great. You can have a few straight edges, but you tear the edges, it just gives it so much interest and that old sort of ephemera look. Wipe my brush off. So there, experiment worked. And I like that this has so much corrosion on it. It's a really neat little bookmark. So what did they do? Let me see if I can remember. They used, let's see, take a piece of cardstock because it's a little thicker. Oh, you attach it to the narrow edge, I believe. Which did they do? The small bit or the large bit? I don't know. Does it really matter? Not sure if it matters. But you glue it to one side or the other, and then glue other things on top. And then, of course, you can put it in there, and you can put it anywhere, and it can be movable. And so, yeah, I'm going to do that. Let's get back to this. I have those little scraps set aside for that purpose. I don't suppose there's any fish in this story, are there? I don't think so. Check at the beginning, see if there's a fishbowl in the first scene. No, there isn't. I can't believe those guys stole the puppies. They went in and they stole those puppies. How rude. I might add a little tab here, a little fabric tab. For where I put my, find it right now. See how I can't stick with one thing. Sometimes it's like that. I just realized you couldn't even see what I was working on. edge this. Yes. Use the black spot. No, black soot. It's called black soot. Like it's not as wet as the other one. Might need a little bit of water. Some people keep a little spritz bottle close by with water, and they just spray it onto their pads if they're a little bit dry. This one seems a lot drier than the other one I used. Let's try this. See, you can see the moisture on this one on the top. See that edge a little bit better. It wasn't it? Well, oh, that sticker's coming up. I probably need to glue that down. Sometimes these don't have to be glued to a page either. You can put them on with paper clips. I might end up doing that. I'm just going to leave it in the book there. Where did this? There's a place that this looked good. Is it here? Now I've lost my place. Because see, I got sidetracked. Well, I can't decide, so I'm just going to tuck it in for right now. Another thing I worked on last night was I had, again, these decals, and I just added some to cards. I started with the idea of making flashcards, but then I decided just to put numbers that kind of made sense for the book, and these can be little journaling cards that I can tuck in. This happens to be the year she was born, so I thought that was apropos. All right, well, I think I'm going to wrap it up for today. Kind of losing steam and gone over kind of what I wanted to start with. So in future videos, I am probably going to keep this up, work on my projects. Might not do as much talking in them, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. You know, it's a process to figure out, you know, what works for me and what I want to have in these videos. So it's been over an hour now, almost an hour and a half. I think that's enough for today. So I want to thank you for joining me. Please do give a thumbs up if you like this content, and please do consider subscribing. I really do appreciate that. I'm just growing my channel and appreciate all of the supporters and the feedback. And there's a lot to watch out there. So the fact that you're here watching this with me, it just means so much. So thanks so much and have a good day. Bye.